Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. Huck is in the building, just taking her position in her bright white, thick coat, watching the proceedings. And she'll be with us today. In the meantime, this is a missing person segment, and it's a doozy. It is a doozy. Thanks for being here. You're always welcome. This is a safe place, a safe harbor that I make sure is safe because I review every comment you make out there on your video, and I appreciate every one of them. If someone's being rude, obnoxious, gone. I don't care. And I told you a long time ago I'd make sure it was safe, and I am. I'm one of those few people that makes myself available, that I'm out there looking, checking, etc. Now, a few of the handiworks out of the way. Rumble. David Paulides presents Missing 411 Factual News on Rumble. The link is on here. I just presented probably one of the best ones in a long time. So get over there and watch it if you can. I'm still signing posters. In fact, I came in today and I signed a bunch of them. You order them now. They'll be in time for Christmas. So sign them to anyone you want. If you order a poster and you want it signed by somebody other than you, to you, send me an email immediately after you make the order to NA, like North America, nabigfootsearch.com is the website to order. nabigfootsearch@yahoo.com is the email. And at the store, we've got books and all kinds of other things for Christmas gifts, and we'd appreciate it if you think of us. Now, surprisingly, here in November, we've got a few missing people out there in the world that are some pretty strange cases. And they aren't hunters, which is the surprising part, because in past seasons, that November timeline is usually a missing hunter or two. Now, I've told you before, if you hear of someone missing in your area, please send me an email to canammissing@yahoo.com, like Canadian American, canammissing@yahoo.com. Chances are I probably haven't even heard about it, because a lot of the missing persons cases don't get the visibility that some cases do, and I'm kind of shocked by it just lately. But if you could send me something you hear about, I appreciate it. Now, the cases today. First case involves a lady, very, very smart lady, named Herford. She's 66 years old, went missing November 11th. Yes, this November of 2023. She lived in a place called Elkton, Michigan. And her husband, Don Herford, passed away 2 years ago in January 2021. She's a traveling nurse practitioner, and she'd taken jobs in California in the past because she liked the outdoors, she liked the sightseeing, and she liked the hiking. She was working then for a company called Adventist Health in Sonora. Now, Sonora is a small community, kind of a gateway location to Yosemite National Park. Several roads go towards Yosemite. You can get to it through Sonora. I've spent a lot of time in Sonora over the years. Nice town, nice area. Well, Ann was somebody who used to work in Lansing, Michigan, and Traverse City. She'd also worked on Native American reservations. She was considered to be a very giving and caring person who loved to hike. Now, the people at Adventist had their traveling nurses and things stay at the Best Western Hotel in Sonora, which is where Ann was staying. And on November 11th, she was sitting down with a friend over breakfast and told him that she was going to go for a hike. And her days off were coming up, so she had a few days to go out and enjoy the scenery. It was decent weather, blah, 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 blah. Well, that was on November 11th. On November 14th, Ann's hospital had her friends at the hotel check on the room because she didn't check in for work. This is Ann. Well, she didn't check in for work, which was absolutely 100% not hers. She was always very reliable, on time, punctual. Well, her friends went to the room with the hotel manager, checked the room, and it appeared that she hadn't been there in a few days. They called the hospital back, explained to the administrator what they found. There was a discussion. They asked to go around and see if they could find Ann's car in the parking lot. They searched the parking lot of the hospital and of the hotel, and they couldn't find it. And they finally found a friend who said, yeah, she did say that she was going to go hiking, so maybe she did. Maybe something happened. So the hospital administrator called the Calaveras County Sheriff's Office. Now, Calaveras County, small county, but that's where they have the jumping frog contest every year. You might have heard of it. And if you were here just a few weeks ago, I did another disappearance in that county. Quite a few years ago, but it is another one. Well, they called the sheriffs to explain the situation, and they give the sheriffs a description of the vehicle that Ann would be driving. Now, there's a system in California that allows different agencies to put vehicles up for a be on the lookout. Stolen vehicles are one, suspect vehicles, missing persons vehicles. And in the county, like Calaveras, they probably share just one communications channel for highway patrol, wardens, sheriff. That's my guess. And so when they put out a BOL on a car, the next day at briefings where all the policemen go, they'll sit around and the sergeant will read off vehicles that are wanted, people that are wanted, be on the lookout for. Well, Ann's vehicle was being looked for. Finally, on November 15th, about 4 days after she told her friend she was going to go hiking, the California Highway Patrol found Ann's car in a parking lot to a trailhead called Arnold's Rim Trailhead. CHP called for deputies. Deputies responded, checked the car, didn't look like it had been driven in several days. And the deputies did a very smart thing. They decided that right around this trailhead, there's a whole series of homes. And they decided to go out and talk to the neighbors and see if anyone saw anything. Now, this is the trailhead right here near Lakeside Terrace. Here's Arnold, Dorrington, Camp Connell, Cottage Springs, Fort Jones, Sheep Ranch, Cave City. This area right through here gets very remote. There's not a lot out here. This is the Sierras. Now you think of California that they have a lot of people, but when you get up into this area, there's not a lot. And out in this area, there's a lot of granite. Lots of granite. Tons of granite. Now, when Ann would have walked up to that trailhead, she would have seen this sign, the Arnold's Rim Trailhead. And what it says is, Coastal Range, peaks of the High Sierras to the east. The Arnold's Rim Trail, planned as a 35-mile loop around Greater Arnold and through the Stanislaus National Forest, California Big Tree State Park. And she would have seen a map here. Now, people who knew Ann knew that she was, number one, an avid hiker. But she wouldn't have gone out for more than a day. She wouldn't have done the 35-mile loop. That would have been out of the question. That 35 miles requires at least 2 days. And that's for a super good hiker. Somebody like Ann might have taken 4 days or 5 days. But she wasn't loaded for multiple days out in the bush. She wasn't taking extra supplies. She didn't buy anything else. She was just going out for a day hike, coming back to the car. So the deputies, during their search of the neighborhood, they find a neighbor that says, hey, I happen to remember seeing that lady at that car on November 11th, and she was getting her stuff together, and she looked like she was going to go on a hike. So you have her at the trailhead. The car wasn't dumped there. Now, for some reason, all of this follow-up before the search and rescue started on November 18th. I will give it to them. They put their heart and soul into it. They had 120 searchers, 5 dog teams, and a helicopter from the Highway Patrol that were searching the area. And by the 18th, they're already a week behind Ann. Very troublesome. Every day is a matter of life or death, and there's a curve, life expectancy on the trail if you're missing as the days go on. But even aside from that, Ann shouldn't have been more than 2 to 3 miles out from that trailhead. Max. I think they probably should have had a 4 square mile area to search max. She probably wouldn't have gone off trail either. Just saying. The only time women like Ann go off trail normally is to use the bathroom. So, November 19th, 150 searchers, 2 dog teams, and the Air National Guard this time supplied a different helicopter. November 20th, 45 searchers, drones, and 1 canine team. And Ann's family was interviewed by the news. They described her as extremely caring, no kids, loves time spent with her sister and her nephew, has cats, cherishes her cats, very kind, very hardworking, would never miss a shift at work. As a searcher, this is what this tells me. Ann would not have left those cats to die. So let's say some people thought maybe she was suicidal. I didn't read that anywhere, by the way, but I'm just saying if some people did, people with cats don't do that. They don't leave their cats to die. Never. And Ann would not have told somebody that she was going to go hiking if she was going to kill herself. That's a very private thing. So, now, November 21st, numbers keep subsiding. 38 searchers, 1 canine, a drone, and the CHP helicopter's back. Let me say something about the CHP. CHP has divisions. Nearly every division in the state has a helicopter, and there's quite a few. And the pilots, very well trained, the helicopters, very well equipped to do search and rescue. November 23rd, canines back, drones back, CHP helo back. Search was hampered by inclement weather, and they stopped it early. The Calaveras County Sheriff's Office gave a press conference about what they had done. They searched 12 square miles. They used 18 agencies, 478 searchers over 7+ days. 3,842 hours were search hours. That's a lot. To not find Ann is not right. So Ann, experienced hiker, no wilderness survival experience. In this area, there are massive amounts of granite, tons. Canines not finding a scent that leads to any evidence, troublesome. Very troublesome. Not a little, very. And Ann wouldn't go out overnight. Remember that. Ann would not have gone out overnight. So, the maximum out would be the maximum in. Meaning, her maximum hike out, 2 miles, 3 miles max. If they say they search 12 square miles, that would have encompassed about 3 miles out. I think that would have been a long ways for her. But the inclement weather was mentioned. Multiple canines couldn't pick up a scent trail. Tons of granite in that area, and no tracks were found outside that trailhead area. But again, the problem is 7 days waiting before the search starts. Now, I don't blame Calaveras County. I'm sure there were issues with this that I don't understand and they didn't make public. But I'm sure they understand it too, that that's a huge issue. Now, what they stated is that on the 23rd of November, they would just keep an eye on the trail, and when they had time, they would go out and do things. Well, right now, snow's moving into that area. Once it starts snowing, searching's over. They might find her body next year, hopefully. Her sister in Michigan, would love to know what happened to her, I'm sure. So, Calaveras County, Ann Herford, missing nurse. Next case. It's one of those very odd ones, folks. Hold on to your seat on this. A boy named Eddie Williams, 6 years old, went missing November 18th, 1902. And here's your history lesson for today. He went missing in a town called CanAm, California. Californians are going, CanAm? Never heard of that, Dave. Where's that? Yeah. Well, here's the history lesson. CanAm right now is buried under 400 feet of water at Shasta Dam. CanAm was where the Shasta Dam is now located. Here's Redding, California. Shasta Lake is right here. If you've never driven up I-5, and I have, I think probably hundreds of times, just north of the dam, Sacramento River Valley, it will take you right to Mount Shasta, where I did a special called Vanished. And you can watch that online right now. That's owned by the History Channel, not owned by me. You can watch it. That was Huck. He just moved the tripod. Thank you, Huck. So, CanAm. Well, why is it buried underwater, Dave? Well, CanAm was an old copper mine town. Very successful copper mine. Had two companies, and they refined very fine copper. Now, when the Bureau of Reclamation came in and they wanted to dam up Sacramento River, there was a pretty big push even way back then. But that was 1935 where CanAm went underwater. But we're talking about 1902. So 1902, the Sacramento River would have went through right next to the heart of CanAm. Sacramento River can get big in that area, but not really, really big. Big enough that you don't want to cross it at high water in the spring, for sure. But the fishing in it, even today, is still phenomenal. So, good, clean water coming out of the Shasta region of Northern California. Now, on November 18th, Eddie was playing with friends, and they were running across a plank that was placed across Backbone Creek. Yeah, Backbone's still there. And the plank was put across the creek because Southern Pacific Railroad workers were doing some work up there. Why Southern Pacific, Dave? Oh, good question. So the Southern Pacific Railroad, one of the main arms of it, runs from Redding, follows the Sacramento River, now just up above Shasta Dam, and goes all the way up to Mount Shasta and further north up into Oregon. It's a main line. It's a beautiful spot. And anyhow, Southern Pacific was working. They put the plank over so the workers could cross over to the creek, and the kids were running back and forth over the creek. Now, Backbone Creek doesn't get unbelievably deep that you couldn't cross it, but if you were a small kid and you fell in, you could have problems. Well, Eddie was 6 years old, and he was with a friend 9 years old. They were running back and forth. And one time, the board moved, and both of them fell into the creek. It was super cold water. It was in the middle of November. And the older friend, the 9-year-old friend, made it out of the creek. And when he made it out, he never saw what happened to Eddie, other than he went in the creek. The creek eventually flows into the Sacramento River. So his friend pulled himself out, got some workers. Workers started searching. They eventually got Eddie's parents there. They started searching. Eventually, the whole town is there. Eddie was nowhere. Well, the next day, November 19th, dozens of men from the smelter, copper smelter, took the day off and helped the family search the creek for their son. Now, at about this time, the Southern Pacific Railroad and the mining companies offered a reward to find Eddie, to give people some reason to be out there searching besides just goodwill. And if you're ever involved in a search and rescue, and eventually the formal search is called off, it always helps to offer a big reward because it keeps people out there in the woods or wherever looking, just the way the world works. Well, on November 20th, they still hadn't found anything. Searchers were getting frustrated. This time the smelter gave people time off work. And that was called the Mammoth and the Galinsky mines and smelters, copper, were shut down partially so workers could look. It was a massive effort. Most of it was focused on Backbone Creek, but then they started to search the area south of the mines. That would be the area downstream from where Backbone Creek hits the Sacramento and the Sacramento goes towards Redding. Still weren't finding anything. November 21st, an enormous push. Dozens of people walked up and down the banks, dragging the river. The river wasn't that high then, because November, it's not that high. November 23rd, most people stopped searching. It's a remote area when you consider that it's only mining people. It didn't have a bustling economy, but there wasn't a lot around it. And travel to and from Redding back then was slow and painful. So that was December 3rd. Essentially, the searching's over, and we move up 10 days, December 3rd. Richard Williams was Eddie's brother. And the night of December 3rd, he has a dream. He said it was a dream that stamped into his memory for a lifetime. He said the dream had him fishing in the Sacramento River 2 miles south of Clement, downstream from the incident. He says in the dream he saw the body of his brother in water. The eyes were open, and he heard Eddie say in the dream, "The water is so cold, Richard. Won't you take me out?" Let me tell you something. When I lost my son, I had dreams. They were horrific. I just wanted them to end because they were so real. I can't imagine what Richard felt when he hears his brother's words like that. Richard woke up the next morning from his dream. People had gone to work. He grabs his fishing pole and he went straight to the spot that he knew where it was in the dream. He says he was there only a couple minutes and he saw Eddie's body in the water. The eyes were opened. He grabbed Eddie, pulled him into shore, and used his fishing line to tie the body to a nearby tree, and then ran as fast as he could back to the mine to get his parents. I've read these stories to you before, not this one. This one's different. Many of you have made comments in previous stories that, well, it's pretty obvious, Dave, that only people unrelated to the victim are getting notified. Here, not the case. His brother, probably one of the closest people to him in the world gets notified. So my question to you, in the dream, he hears Eddie saying this. So is that Eddie speaking from heaven to Richard? Or is his soul still compromised somewhere between here and heaven, and the body has to be found and buried before the soul can move on? I don't know. What would be the purpose if Eddie was deceased, and he was, for the need for Richard to find the body? Was the pain so overwhelming to the parents that somehow Eddie knew it? I don't know. It baffles me. It's a troubling scenario. I can't quite get past it. And few people talk about it these days. But it happens. It happens more. I think you guys are getting to realize how often this has happened. It's one of those unique things in our world that there really hasn't been a lot studied. And I'm not even sure how you could study it. That first theory that, okay, the notifications only went out to people who weren't related to the victim. I see why you can understand that, because I was giving you stories that just showed other people being notified. But now I give you one where it was family. Again, was that Eddie talking to his brother in that dream? You can't make me believe that Richard just somehow developed this dream on his own and woke up that morning and ran down there and the body just was there. And I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible. But really open your mind up. Who is delivering the message to Richard? Why is that message being delivered? What's the purpose? Is that soul compromised until he's buried, or until the body's found and the family's calmed down and has closure? A good friend of mine said, Dave, that word closure, this man found his son once after he disappeared. He goes, I didn't get closure by finding my son. I'll never have closure in my life. And when people say they have closure by finding a body, Dave, I don't believe that. I don't think that is closure, because my life will never be closed. Yeah, I get that. So, although not a 411 case by the numbers, this is one of these parts in missing people that for some reason I'm stuck on. I've read a lot of books about it, and I haven't heard a lot of answers. And for the people out there who don't believe in the spirit world, God, heaven, angels, souls, then you explain to me how all of these people are told where to go get that body. Please explain it to me. I appreciate you being here. And Huck's still here right at my feet. If you can, please share this video with others. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And please go out and check out the newscasts at Rumble. And remember the poster. Let's see if I can get Huck to move for you. There she is. Eyes closed. Snoozing away. She's a happy dog. She's happy because you guys are here, part of the village. You have a great day. Paulides out.